Another weekend is here. That means another football weekend is here. This is another episode of Up here on Pittsburgh Sports Live, Pittsburgh Sports Now, and all throughout the Now family of networks. I'm Mike Asti, and that is Mike Vukovcan, and we are going to preview our slate of football games, a few of those that we are going to be covering throughout our family of networks. Of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers in a big pivotal game, not going to be easy, but a big pivotal game in Lambeau against the Green Bay Packers. Pitt and WVU also in action as well. We will preview those games. And also for a note, of course, Penn State playing Indiana, which will have coverage over there at Nittany Sports Now, and any of the other local and regional college teams we will have coverage throughout our networks as well. And Mike, to get things started here, as again, it's another jam-packed fall weekend. You can sip your pumpkin spice. You can maybe have an apple pie or two. Enjoy hopefully a relaxing weekend on the couch. I'm not going to be in Green Bay, so I'll be able to do that here. I'm not having to go to the stadium. And to start things off, the Steelers travel to Lambeau. So they're not in the friendly confines. They have to go on the road to one of the toughest places to play. It's not going to be snowing there. They're not playing Green Bay in December, but they're playing a Packer team that scores points. Aaron Rodgers is getting better and back to his MVP form from what he was to open up the year. They do have a weakness on defense, but do the Steelers have a shot at completing the upset here? I don't think anyone thought they would even be favored going into Green Bay before the season, but certainly not now with how they're playing. They're 1-2. You look at that first quarter of the season, people may have thought they would end up 2-2, but I don't think anyone would have thought those wins would be against Buffalo and Green Bay, both on the road, losing the home games. Is that possible? Or do they just have too many issues to be able to compete against a team like Green Bay?
No, I think this game's going to, excuse me. I think this game's going to go into the fourth quarter.
Okay.
I think the Steelers are going to play. I think behind closed doors, there's still prideful people in that locker room,
right?
Led by their head coach. And there's no doubt he's a master motivator. If you talk about one of Mike Tomlin's biggest strengths, I think that's it. And he hears, no matter what he tells you, and no matter what some of those people or some of the players tell you, they hear what's being said about them. They hear the the crap being thrown on them. That's still a prideful team. Players there, and led by the quarterback. He came back because he thought he could play another year. He doesn't want to go out looking like he has. I'm not saying the Steelers are going to win, but I think they'll lose a close game. I think it'll be between 7 and 10 points, but I think it'll be a single-digit game going to the fourth quarter. And I think the Steelers' defense is going to come up big here.
I was going to ask how they would get there.
Yeah,
I think pick it up for the defense.
We underestimated the presence of they gave TJ Watt that contract because of the difference he makes, and you saw without him out there.
Oh yeah,
it's just not the same defense. If they're able to get those guys back, which it looks as though they're going to get mostly everybody back, I think the defense is going to come up big. I think Green Bay is one of those teams that still, despite them being dominant at times, they're also a team that can try to coast just because they know they're good. And I think this might be one of those games. I think the Steelers playing on national TV will hype them up. Right. And the other guy that I think, Mike, that this, and I think we're starting to see his importance to the offense. He doesn't get as much play as maybe Claypool and Juju, but Deontay Johnson's a very important guy to this offense.
Best overall receiver on the team. I've been saying it for years.
Yeah. He's the one guy on the team that in this type of offense, he gets those yak yards.
Right.
And
he has an easier time getting separation despite blocking. He is the total package. I don't care who the team or the fans want to promote. Right.
Yeah, I think with him coming back, I think that's going to help out Ben. I think it's going to extend drives as long as he's able to stay healthy. I just think the Steelers are going to play a better game. They played like crap last week. And I think they'll be better this week, although I don't think they'll win.
Yeah, that's the thing. If they don't get the victory at the end of the day, you could argue this is a must-win game for sure. I said that about the Bengals game. They didn't win it. That was conference. That was divisional. Bang would certainly look vulnerable with what they did against the Jaguars, barely beating them just last night and losing the week before Pittsburgh. Steelers, maybe let them off the hook, to paraphrase from Denny Green. But yeah, the Steelers have to beat the Packers. I do think it's going to be a better game. I do think it's going to be a better Steelers effort. Ben Roethlisberger has said the Steelers need to start out fast, need to be quicker. They can't have these sluggish first halves because even against Buffalo, the offense didn't get going until the second half and most of that game. They got to get going quicker. Someone actually asked me on a radio hit, well, should the Steelers actually, if they win the coin toss, should they throw the defense out there or the offense out there first because the offense has been so sluggish? It's a duh answer. You got to throw the offense out there immediately. If you want to start fast, you got to maximize your opportunities on the field. Now, I can't guarantee they're going to score or do anything on offense. That's the concern, but you got to try. You got to give it a shot. If you're thinking this is going to be a close game, and obviously that's going to be predicated on the defense, probably even maybe having to complete some takeaways, which Aaron Rodgers historically is one of the all-time great quarterbacks that doesn't turn it over, but we saw him turn it over against the Saints in week 1 and lead to him sitting down, and he certainly can be vulnerable to that. But separate from what the defense will do, because they haven't been necessarily the problem so far this year, despite the injuries, will the Steelers complete some big plays? What will be changed on offense? Will they get better blocking? Is it just Deontay being there because he is a major threat? I do think he's the number 1 receiver on this team. Will Ben play better? And at the end of the day, if they don't get the victory, even if these things do happen, does it matter? Can this season be saved with these fixes? Because if they do lose, it's kind of a must-win game. If it's close, but they do lose, they're still 1-3 with tough games coming up. And just now then, from what you're saying, figuring it out a little bit, it still might be too late.
I think the offense is going to extend some drives. I don't know if it's going to translate into a ton of points.
Okay.
Meaning, but I don't think they're going to have these short 3-and-out drives, and the defense is going to be on the field. Okay. I just think as the season goes on, and we don't know that it's going to matter as far as wins and losses and playoffs and stuff. I think this line, despite the criticism they're getting, I think the offense is going to get better. It's going to take time. It's tough to do that in the NFL. You don't have time, but I think
that's the problem.
The offense is going to play better, and I think that's going to lead to them staying in games. The defense won't be on the field as much, and I think they'll cause Aaron Rodgers some problems. But I think we're going to see something that fans won't be yelling about, at least for 4 quarters, about the offense. Hopefully they're able to get the tight ends involved a little bit more. Right. But the ground game. I think it's going to be an entertaining game. I think this is a game CBS has their top crew on with Nance and Romo.
Right.
This is 2 of the traditional franchises, the NFL. And I think the game's going to live up to the hype. I think it's going to be a good it wouldn't shock me if the Steelers win. This is the NFL. People this is why they have those casinos out in Vegas. Right. Just when you think a team's out and they're done and there's no way they're going to be able to win.
Yeah.
This is a game the Steelers wouldn't shock me if they win, but I don't, like I said before, I don't think they will. I think Aaron Rodgers will be too much, but I think it'll be a good game.
Yeah. Just when you think they're out, they pull you back in. Yeah, it's very, very possible. It would be ironic, and it would be Steelers way football if they go 2-2 with the 2 road wins being against Buffalo and Green Bay and losing those home games. But anyway, yeah, they have a lot to fix. They have a lot of issues. They are healthier. That is a major key factor. You figured they also should get better. It's going to all again be predicated on the offensive line. If they don't block, not much else can happen. And, of course, they need to get the running game going early in the game as well. Great to have Najee as a receiver, but they need to get something on the ground as well to help out Ben. Tight ends, you mentioned Deontay coming back. That's not a small deal. The Steelers lead the league in drops yet again as a receiver group. Guess who has 0? Deontay Johnson. So he's fixed his drop issue. He did those push-ups at training camp. He missed last week. That was not a small deal, even though they have depth. He can get separation the easiest. I don't know if they're going to have a big play or 2, but I wouldn't be shocked if they try one early. I do think they should try one, even if his arm can't do it, because you got to have big plays in the NFL to win these days. So see if you can. They have been scared to see if they could to this point. I think the Packers are going to win as well. I wouldn't be shocked if the Steelers win. I do think they're going to be stacking some losses coming up, but I do think it'll be a better effort than what we've seen. We will see. This is actually the first matchup between Ben Roethlisberger and Aaron Rodgers since they played against each other in the Super Bowl. Of course, the Packers beat the Steelers in that game. That is the Steelers and Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger's only Super Bowl loss. In the 2 Tomlin was the coach for, and the 3 Ben was the quarterback for. So first time out since that game. I don't know if these 2 teams are near as good as they were that year. I doubt either one are in the Super Bowl. I don't think the Packers are getting there, and I don't think the Steelers are. But it should be an entertaining game. It is a national TV game. Steelers-Packers this Sunday, middle
the Bengals
of the
game
day.
hurt him last night.
Yeah, the Bengals crawled
that
to
was
a victory.
That was an entertaining game. I give the Bengals credit.
That's a different Bengals thing to do. As we were talking after the Steelers game, they were celebrating a Steelers win. That's their championship. In past years, they would blow it after that, and it would be a different Bengals team. They did not play well, but they did enough to win. And years past Bengals team would never have won that game. They would have folded mentally with Jacksonville up 14-0. Lawrence leading the drive at the end. Burrow said, I don't care. He led his own drive, and they won. So, yeah, that was a big win, maybe even bigger than beating Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Urban Meyer screwed up. I said it at the time. He's going to learn this, but he needed to take those points before the half. You kick a field goal, you go up 3 scores.
They lose by 3.
And then you really put the pressure on Cincinnati to do it. You don't, despite it just being 4th and 1, he needed to go in with a 3-score game. He didn't. They lost. They got stuffed, and they were only up by 2, and then Cincinnati was able to come back. So it's a learning lesson for Urban Meyer.
Yeah, it's a learning lesson that even veteran Hall of Fame coaches are making, because Mike Tomlin, he had the same situation in the last game against the Bengals. Although he took the points, a lot of fans booed, but he did the right thing there. And yeah, you got to, when you're in a game like that, you got to take the points. We'll see if he either learns his lesson or he bolts out of the NFL to some of these jobs that are available with how things are going there in Jacksonville. That get the Vegas betting lines on how many, if he lasts the year, how many months, how many years he does last. The transition to where Urban Meyer certainly knows what he's doing, and that is the college game here. Mic'd up, Mike Vukovcan, Mike Asti. Of course, follow Pittsburgh Sports Now, Steelers Now, WVU Sports Now, all these Now Network sites here. Another big jam-packed college football NFL weekend coming up. We're now in October. Pitt, though, to get us started, they have a game that is not New Hampshire. It's not UMass. This is a team that's in conference. It's a team that's going to matter. This isn't the best of the conference, but this is Georgia Tech. They're 2-2. They played a tough game with Clemson a couple weeks ago, almost beat Clemson before Clemson eventually did lose to NC State. It's a good Georgia Tech defense, an offense that has scored. Pitt obviously has Kenny Pickett in an offense that's going to stack points. The defense has been a question mark most of this year. Obviously, this is a must-win, a big win. They got to show they can do it against these teams and continue on now in conference play. What are the keys to this game, Pitt, Georgia Tech?
Stopping Jeffrey Sims. He is Georgia Tech's offense. He's kind of a one-man show.
Yeah.
They're led by their defense. They're almost like the Pitt teams of years past, led by their defense, had a good quarterback, surrounding parts, a little questionable. That's sort of what Georgia Tech is this year.
Right.
But it's been successful, to a point. But I think in the end, I think that this game is going to be similar, I think, to the Steelers Packers game, aside from the fact that I think Pitt will come out in the fourth quarter. I expect it to be. I don't think Pitt's going to run away with this. I think the latest spread I saw was 3 or 4. I
see Pitt. 3 right now.
Yeah, I would take Pitt with the point, or Pitt minus the points there. But I don't expect in any way this to be a blowout. I think Georgia Tech will give them a game. I think Collins down there is building a talent base. They're going to give him
quietly. Yep.
Yeah, he's starting to get some talent down there, and it's led by the quarterback. But I just think Pitt overall has too much depth, both offensively, defensively. And the other thing is, I think Pitt they've played this guy before. It's not a new quarterback where they're going to learn his tendencies as they play him, as aside from watching on film. Sure. They've gone up against him I believe last year they knocked him out in the game, or it might have been 2 years ago or last year. They game kind of ended ugly. One of the players hit him while he was scrambling. But I just think Pitt has overall too much talent, and they'll get off to a good start in the ACC, and that's what they need. So I'd go with Pitt 31-24.
And you mentioned how the Bengals, if they would have lost, would have helped the Steelers. Pitt is getting help around the conference. Clemson losing last weekend, Miami losing. Of course, Virginia picks up a conference win, but Miami was a team that many thought would be a ranked team, would be a team that was contending. Many also would say that if Clemson is not going to be who they thought they would be, that the two teams, Mike, anyone would have said, if you name me three teams that are going to win the ACC entering the season, people would have said, of course, Clemson. They probably then would have said Miami and Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech showed they were vulnerable losing to West Virginia, and Miami losing to Virginia, who nobody would, maybe expect them to lose, even though they do lay these upsets every now and then, but they shouldn't be losing to in a close one on Thursday Night Football. So again, as we talked about before in past shows, the conference is still there in front of them. The VMU loss is bad, but if they fix things, the conference is still right there in front of them. When you have an offense like that, you can contend with anybody, including Clemson. And even if you lose that game, you have winnable games, including against ranked teams and good teams in front of you. And then it's all right there.
Yeah, the latest last night, actually, bring this up. The latest ranking, or according to ESPN.com, their FPI chances to win the Coastal Conference. Number one is Pitt with 39%. And this was before Miami lost. This
you got to be up now, I imagine.
Yeah, Miami was second with 22%. Virginia Tech was third with 17%. So
there you go.
Obviously when those numbers are readjusted today, Miami's not going to be number two with 22%. So Pitt's chances probably win. Everything's in front of them.
It's all in front. I mean, again, Western Michigan's a bad loss. It was, Alan Saunders, I agree with him. He said it was the worst loss under the Narduzzi era. It was after what they did the week before. But at the end of the day, if they get in the ACC title game, win the Coastal, it really doesn't matter because that's what they wanted to be in the first place. That was their end goal. And if you have an offense like this with Pickett, you could contend with anybody. Clemson's not putting these points out. I'm not predicting they're going to win the ACC by any means. I'm not getting that high on Pitt. But it is right there in front of them. We know the offense is going to score. It is up to the defense in games like this.
Yep. So that'll be big tomorrow. You and I will be on the post-game show afterward to talk about that. But the other game at 3:30. This is in your wheelhouse. West Virginia has a Texas Tech team that's going to have a new quarterback, but he's not really going to be new to them because he led Texas Tech last year over West Virginia. So he's new to the field this year, but he's sort of a veteran. My early thought is I think these two games for Penn State and West Virginia, a big thing will be that they're at home. I think the West Virginia crowd tomorrow will play into it. In college, that is such a big deal. Good college home crowds, and I think those will both benefit both Penn State and West Virginia.
Yeah, and Penn State has an inside track at the playoff right now. If they keep going and get that win over Indiana, and we actually were talking, myself and Penn State alum Chris Adamski, actually, who covers the Steelers, and will be on our Steelers postgame show this weekend. Actually, he's a Penn State guy, talking about how it's all in front of Penn State. If they stack these wins, the only thing that could mess up for them is if you lose to Ohio State, who right now you look better than. But as long as Penn State keeps winning, and honestly, maybe even if they do lose to Ohio State, as long as they win the rest, they might have a shot at the playoff this year. They're right now number 4 because Oklahoma looks really vulnerable. They don't look like the 4th best team. Clemson's already lost. It's right there in front of Penn State as well, and they got to take care of business, and this could be the year that they finally beat the Buckeyes. But as far as West Virginia, I've said the Steelers have a must-win. We've said Pitt is a must-win. This is the most must-win game of the weekend for any team we cover. If West Virginia loses this game, Garrett Green probably needs to start the next week. That is it. Jared Dagey, I've defended him to no end. He is the experienced guy. He had to start this year. He has not looked great. he needs to play well. I'm not saying he got to throw 350 and 4 TDs. He's not Kenny Pickett, but he can't make the mistakes. West Virginia has to get Letty Brown going. They got to try to do that early in the game. He is their star running back. If they don't give him some stats soon, they are screwing his individual future. He got to have something on tape. So, yes, the offensive line hasn't been good, but they got to get the round game moving. They got to try to do it early. This is certainly not Virginia Tech. This is not Oklahoma. This is the weakest team they played in a few weeks, but a team that can beat them. They beat them last year. This is a bad matchup usually for West Virginia, and Daggy did not play well last year. So he got to play better. They got to get the round game.
Will they?
I do think they're going to win the game. I don't think it's going to be impressive. I think they get out of the game with a victory. I don't think anything is going to be where it's so impressive that anything is decided. I think we're still going to leave the game with West Virginia fans saying Daggy's not the guy, got to throw in Green. It'll be the same conversation, but I do think they crawl out of the win, probably more so that I don't think Tech is that good. And I can't imagine them winning back-to-back years. Brown talked about, we have a video up on PSL about what he learned from that loss, etc. Well, we'll see, because it's a similar unit he's playing against. They're doing it without Darius Stills. Dante's still becoming the leader of the defensive line. I think they can get pressure on Tech. They can stop Tech a little bit more than they can stop West Virginia, but I don't think everything's going to be fixed. This might be the game, though, that I do think we get Letty Brown going. I think Letty Brown for West Virginia does maybe carry the load finally for them in an individual game here, but Daggy's not going to look great. But I think the mistakes are a little bit down, and they do get the win, but they got to. If they don't win, I don't care what happened. Daggy could even throw 300. If they don't win that game, the season's really in jeopardy, and you might as well see what you have with the young kid, because he's going to be the starter next year no matter what. It will be interesting if he gets any pass plays or how they administer the two of them in that game, because we've only seen Garrett Green either throw 1 or 2 yard dumper or basically a design run play. Does he get legit pass plays? Is it just a Daggy show? Can he take care of the football enough? West Virginia has them. We talk about Pitt and Virginia Tech, and Pitt is the more talented team. I do believe West Virginia has the more talented roster right now, but they haven't always played like it. This is a must-win game. I do think they win it. I don't think it's impressive, though, against Texas Tech.
Yeah, I think it'll be a successful weekend for all of our teams within the network. I think Penn State blows out.
They should. They should.
I think they'll blow out Indiana, the night crowd. I think Indiana is one of those programs that they had a nice year,
right?
But it takes a long time to build a really good program. You could have a good season,
right?
A season or two, but the programs are the ones that are there year in and year out.
Yeah, that's why Penn State's always there.
Yeah, and I don't think Indiana's there yet. I think that was a nice story last year, but Penn State too much talent. I think that crowd will overwhelm them, and I think it'll be at least it'll be a double-digit win for Penn State.
Yeah, and I think Penn State, and I'm being dead serious, they need to show impressive victories against inferior opponents because they have a legitimate playoff shot this year. It is right in front of them. They have been just close so many years. My wife's still complaining about how could we win the Big Ten and not get in the playoff years ago. It's right there. This is right there for the taking. So they got to take care of business. They got to do it impressively. And I'll also, if this keeps up right now, I think the nation is going to get close to have to issue Sean Clifford an apology, because everyone said entering the year, we talked about it, he would hold the team back. He's been fine. They've been winning. They're scoring. It's not exactly a playoff team they're playing, but a team they should look impressive again. So we'll see if they do. I think they will, and I think he'll be okay again.
Yeah, hopefully they don't. They're not looking ahead to next week to Iowa. I think tonight's a game. Maryland plays. We'll find out about Maryland. They play Iowa tonight.
We will find out about Maryland.
Yeah, we'll find out if they're legit
and Iowa even, because Iowa, some still argue is overrated. That'd be a big deal for Penn State before you get to Ohio State. They got to beat Iowa, of course. But yeah, we will find out about Maryland. That's a team that West Virginia lost to that I still think the Mountaineers should have beat. 4 turnovers in that game. If they would have beat Maryland, they'd probably be ranked right now. It'd be a whole different story. Maryland almost lost to Illinois a few weeks ago, if you recall. They almost lost that game. That was an Illinois team that lost 2 bad games the week prior, so they're not that great. They barely beat Nebraska, who everyone beats. If Maryland and Little Tua are who we are being told they are, then they need to take care of business. Granted, Iowa's a great team to play, so it's not easy to do. But that could be a statement game for Maryland, and that could be the biggest win Maryland has had in a long time. Right now, it's probably WVU because of the quote-unquote fake rivalry they got going. But that would be a really big win that then they would shut a lot of us up, and that would absolutely get Maryland ranked. It would be a special year, but we'll see. They got to do it. They have the talent. Yeah, that's a big one. That'll do it for this edition of the show. Enjoy your October weekend of football, college, and pro. Enjoy everything that fall brings. It's going to be another one of those great football weekends here and, of course, across the network. And subscribe to this channel. After those games we mentioned, we will have post-game shows. You hit the subscribe button, you get a notification whenever we go live.